Any day now, local leaders from both parties are expected to announce their special election candidates to fill the House seat once held by George Santos and the seat once held by Tom Suozzi.
Suozzi wants his old job back and is set to be at the top of the Democrats' list. Joining us now to tell us the latest is New York State and Nassau County Democratic Party Chairman Jay Jacobs. Thank you so much for making the time to join us.
Well, thanks for having me.
So can you tell us who's going to be the candidate?
Well, you're going to have to wait till tomorrow. We're meeting at about 4:30 tomorrow. It's a joint meeting of the Queens Democratic Committee and the Nassau County Democratic Committee. And Congressman Meeks will be there. He's flying up from Washington. He's the chairman in Queens, and certainly, of course, I'll be there. And we'll make our decision at that time.
Now, there's been a lot of talk about specifically Tom Suozzi himself. Of course, he made a run for governor. That upset the current governor. There's been a lot of talk that they had a behind-closed-door meeting to sort of smooth things over should he become the nominee. What can you tell us about the meeting, how it went, and where they stand right now with each other?
Well, I think the fact that they met and had a conversation was very important. Of course, there's history. Look, you know, you're engaged in a primary. It never goes smoothly, but I would say that it was important for Tom to meet with the governor, whether or not he's the nominee and whether or not he's the candidate. I think that, you know, having our party united and everybody working together, I think is a positive. And that meeting, as far as I've been told, went about as good as anybody could have expected.
We do want to ask you about this stunning new poll that came out. So former Governor Andrew Cuomo would trounce Mayor Adams in a primary if he were to run as a Democrat for mayor in 2025. What do you make of this poll, and are state Democrats standing behind Adams?
Well, look, you know, polls this early out generally don't really align with what ends up happening. I don't see the former governor deciding to make that run. Frankly, I think we've got to give Mayor Adams an opportunity to do his job. I think that's what he's trying to do. And I think when it comes time for an election, he'll be able to make the case that he deserves to be reelected. So I really, you know, I won't entertain a poll like that at this time.
Gotcha. And, you know, back to the congressional seat, we know the special election is going to be in February to take the rest of the term that Santos was supposed to serve. Is the idea that whoever you pick to run this time around will then stay the candidate? You know, obviously Robert Zimmerman, who lost to George Santos under these the shadiest of circumstances with what we know about Santos now, he is not in the running, is my understanding, for the special election. But has he ruled out running again in the future? And what would you like to see happen as far as the candidate going forward?
Well, of course, the candidate that we nominate, I expect to win. We're going to work very hard to make sure that candidate does win. And if that candidate does win and is the incumbent, my expectation would be that he or she would be the nominee for the new district, if there is a new district, or for the election coming up in November. Now, can someone primary? It's possible. You know, I don't even want to entertain the idea that we're not going to win and what the possibilities are. Now, Robert's a friend of mine. I've known him a long time. I like him an awful lot. He's a great public servant, and I feel badly what happened to him in that last election. It certainly was unfair. But, you know, look, it's a different time, and we have to move forward.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jay Jacobs, for making the time. Again, tomorrow, 4:30 p.m., we will find out who the Democratic nominee is for that hotly contested seat. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.